Well, I've spoken often here about California's water situation and how that directly relates to agriculture, and why is California agriculture important to the whole country. There's many, many crops California grows. It's between 90 and 100% of them come from California that U.S. consumers use and enjoy. If they're not grown in California, they're going to have to come from some other country because they're not really found in other parts of this country. So do we want to be an importer of even more things that we depend on? We're already dependent enough on China and others for 90% of our pharmaceuticals. We're becoming more and more dependent on foreign energy, foreign oil and gas. Why? Why are we doing this? But I'll narrow it back down to the water situation. So last year we had near record rainfall and snowpack. Hadn't been better in many, many decades, and we were blessed by that. This year's a pretty good water and snowpack year as well. But at the same time that that's happening, they're releasing water out to the ocean and telling certain water districts in the San Joaquin Valley, you're only going to get 15% of your allocation. 15%. Imagine having any kind of business saying, yeah, you only get 15% of your inputs to operate at the same time when there's plentiful water. Now, in Northern California, where my district is, we have Lake Shasta and Lake Oroville, and today is March 20th. We're getting to the end of the winter precipitation season, and they're still dumping water over the spillways at these facilities. This at a time when Lake Shasta still has 600,000 acre-feet of space. Lake Oroville has 500,000 acre-feet of space. For those that don't know, an acre-foot is enough to sustain about 2 households for a year, or about 3 acres of crops. That's a lot of water that's being just flat lost, I think, due to short-sightedness on planning what the flood season would look like. And indeed, in many cases, they're still using 50-year-old manuals to dictate how they should manage the lake for flood control. I get that. We need to have that aspect. You save the top percentage of the lake for unplanned water influxes due to a heavy rain or a massive snow melt. But as we get closer and closer to this April 1 deadline, or we get to the spring season, they still have wide gaps of available space of water at the top of Shasta and Oroville and other reservoirs around the state. And do we really expect we're going to get this massive influx of rain and snow that's going to top those off? Because time and again, they overdump and underplan, and therefore these lake levels are not topped off at 100%. And that should be, to me, the goal every year. Yes, flood control, and obviously have the water for the uses that we want up and down the state. But if you're not topping off every lake at 100% at one point in the off-season, then you left water on the table. And you say, like, well, we got within 5%, that ain't bad, right? Well, 5% of a combined 8 million acre-feet on just those 2 lakes I mentioned, that's 400,000 acre-feet. That's enough to do one heck of a lot of crops that's being left on the table, especially when you're telling people down the valley you're only going to get 15% of what used to be your normal allocation. And so why is it government cannot plan with our assets, with our resources, better than that? Why are we using 50-year-old manuals to tell people, like, well, you might have to be curtailed to, and they're actually moving forward with this, 42 gallons per day per person in your households. They're not just ripping agriculture. It's going to be a dictation to people in their households in the urban areas. And so I'm really greatly concerned that not enough people are paying attention to this, because if urban users, in-town users, find out you only get 42 gallons per day, and it's surprising how many gallons per person is used when you do bathing and laundry, and yes, you can wash your car, yes, you can have a yard. They're trying to dictate you can't have those things either. All because we're not managing the water supply. We aren't short of water. We're just short of an imagination on how to properly manage it. And yes, store more. We have opportunities to build Sites Reservoir, which has been hanging out there for decades. And fortunately, we were able to get another $200 million for planning and moving the ball forward on building Sites Reservoir, which would hold 1.5 million acre-feet. If we had that reservoir already, even in dry years, we'd be saving water. We would have probably over 1 million acre-feet in it right now, this year. 1 million acre-feet that could be usable for something. Environmental water, ag water, urban water. People aren't used to being cut down to 42 gallons per person in a household. They're used to a number more like maybe 100 a day. And so imagine what that's going to be like when folks are trying to do their normal business, say, well, because we can't plan in government, we can't manage our supply, we can't manage to store more, we're just going to make everybody conserve, which nothing wrong with conservation, but you can't conserve what you don't have.
Gentleman's time's expired.
So we have to count on record rainfall we have to count on 125% every year. And we can't do that every year. We have to plan, and we can. We don't have to be short-sighted. I yield back.